Hi, everybody.
Hello.
You can hear me and you can see. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get started. Let's see. Tech Leave I don't see, and Oliver I don't see. Pippa's not going to be here today. Um, all right. Let's see. Let me
Did
share
Tech
my. Yeah, go ahead.
did TechClub email you because we have an arts festival going on and I'm here for it, so I was able to come into our Amazon room, but he might be joining separately. I don't know.
Actually,
I haven't.
actually, you're right. He did send me email, and he said that he was going to. He did say that he was going to come in, or he was going to log on at home, is what he said.
Okay, sweet. Just making sure.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that's what he did say. Very good. All right, can everyone see the screen? Good. I get a thumbs up from Maya. I'm going to bring this graphic on this side.
Also,
Can I?
just note, I'm in my aunt's house, and I just learned that the Wi-Fi here is like a little bit patchy. So if I just randomly cut out, you'll know why, and I'll try to
Okay,
come back as soon as possible.
that sounds very good. All right, everyone can see the screen? Awesome. Good. All right, so now we're going to go. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide. Let's see. Does this work? So we're going to have our announcements. We're going to do a little bit with numbers today. Numbers are complicated in Arabic. I think what we're going to do with numbers is I'll just have your quiz next Tuesday while I read numbers to you. You get to write them down in numerals, nothing complicated. And then just so you've seen them, and there is TechLeave. Yay. Awesome. And then we'll just leave it at that. But we need to look at them because otherwise your teacher for next semester will wonder why Niazi did not teach you the numbers. All right. Where there's a political
Um,
cartoon. Yeah, go ahead,
do
Adam.
you know who is going to be teaching it next year?
Well, how many of you guys are going to be taking it at the Malone sort of with the Malone arrangement? Okay. Well, a bunch of you. Well, that's really quite wonderful to see. I'm assuming some of you will go on to college and then you will have a head start relative to your colleagues who want to study this really fascinating culture and language. Um, I guess it hasn't been determined yet. If I'm around, I will be teaching at least one. I'll be teaching one of the Arabic classes, but that all hinges on a whole bunch of different things. So, in answer to your question, we don't know who's teaching Arabic next semester. Okay. Um, all right, and then we're going to look at verbal sentences. Last time we looked at nominal sentences, sentences that start with a noun. The other large class of sentences in Arabic is verbal sentences. And we'll look at that. Then we'll have a presentation by Teklib, provided the technical details are worked out. Teklib needs to be happy with the lighting situation. I think it's good, but we'll see once we get there. And then we have a bunch of homework review that I keep postponing. So we have a lot of stuff to cover, and we don't have enough time. But as always, I can count on you to read the book and do the homework and all those wonderful things. All right, so announcements. Volunteer speakers for Tuesday. Tuesday, who wants to present on Tuesday? We don't.
Aren't I going Tuesday?
Yeah, Darden, would you like to go? Yeah, Darden can go on Tuesday. Awesome. Also, there'll be a quiz on numbers on Tuesday, so it'll be a dictation, maybe 5 numbers I'll read to you, and you'll have to write down the numbers, the numerals. They can be Western or Eastern, and then you can scan and transmit your results as we've done in the past. Now, incidentally, when I say I don't care whether they're Western or Eastern, why do I not care too much?
Are both used?
Well, they're both used. Also, the other thing is, where do we get our numbering system from? Where do we get the decimal system from?
You mean our Arabic numerals?
Yeah, we call them Arabic numerals. Now, of course, that's a little unfair to the people who invented the place value system. Who actually invented it?
Was it in India?
Excellent. Yes, the Indian civilization invented it. Thank you, Teklima. Wonderful. And then it was transmitted to the rest of the world via the Islamic civilization. So we call them the Arabic numerals. And for instance, if you look at, I mean, I don't have the pad, but you can all see For instance, for the first four, in fact, the numbers are really similar. If you look at an American 2, a quote-unquote American 2, and then you look at a quote-unquote Arabic 2, you see that at once that they're really related. How are they related? The numerals.
One of them kind of looks like, they look like each other, but it's like turned at a 90-degree angle, if I remember.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so they're related by 90 degree. That's a transformation. If you flip the American 2 on its side, it starts looking like an Arabic 2. And it's the same for a 3, and it's the same for a 4. And this is part of the history of these numerals. You know, we all got them from. And now the numerals themselves, I'm not sure. I don't want to give you bad information, but certainly the system, the place value system, we got from India. And imagine if the Indian civilization hadn't given that to us, and if the Islamic civilization hadn't distributed to the rest of the world, we'd still be using what? Roman numerals. Have you tried to do math or like arithmetic with Roman numerals? Addition is painful. Multiplication is really bad. I mean, if you talk about division, it's gonna take you days and days to do what you can do on the back of an envelope with your place decimal system or place value system, which is again thanks to India we have, and thanks to the Islamic civilization, we're giving the rest of the world this system. Very good. So that's your quiz, and then as far as the take-home quiz, I noticed something, and that is there was a typo when I'd asked you to underline for the nominal sentences, both the noun and the predicate. I think I used double underline for both. It didn't bother most of you. I was pretty lenient in grading that anyway. Just wanted to point that out. We'll be practicing parsing nominal and verbal sentences, I think, to the end of the course. Most of you already have a good start, and we'll just keep practicing because it's really important when you want to read something in Arabic. And more likely than not, we'll have a take-home quiz. So I'll give you a quiz on Thursday on this on sort of more examples of how to double underline the noun subject and single underline the predicate for the nominal sentences, and so on and so forth. So it's nothing you've seen. Now, what's a take-home quiz? Well, it's basically a homework, but I'm going to count it in your quiz score. So take that as you like. Maybe do the quiz first before you do the homework. Final announcement is that the transcription exercise this time had some dialect. For instance, there were things like ana kwayis, which is Egyptian for ana jayyid, I'm good. So there's some dialect that seeped into that, and that's okay. And the reason is, no matter how well read you are in Arabic, basically, when you start talking and you become animated, and this happens again and again on television, for instance, your local dialect starts breaking through. So it's good to know these little bits of dialect. One of the things that the speaker says is ma'alish, which is, it doesn't matter. And that's, if you want a note for that, that's in the Alif Ba book, page 206. All right. So just a note that this latest set of transcription sort of deviated from the pure modern standard Arabic that we're learning, and instead had a little bit of Amiya, a little bit of dialect in it. But again, I think that's a good thing for you. All right, so that's it with announcements. Now we go to the next slide. Who wants to read what's on the board?
Al-Aidad.
جميل جدا جدا. Al-A'dad. Now, do we know what Al-A'dad is? How about this? What are the root letters? That's Al-Adab. That's Al-Adab. Al-Adab. That's sort of deceiving. It's a little deceiving. Yeah. Root letters for Al-Adad.
Is it? No, Ayn and 2 dials? Or
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly.
Confusing.
Yeah, and the reason the Aleph comes, that's what I said, is deceiving. The Aleph comes from the broken plural pattern. This is a plural. Al-Adad would be number. Al-Adad, it's a very common broken plural pattern, means quite simply numbers. Okay? Al-a'dad. Everyone say al-a'dad.
Al-a'dad.
Jamil jiddan. Okay. All right, so they're complicated. They're complicated. We're just going to read this just so you've been exposed to it. Again, for your quiz is going to be simpler than this, all right? All right, so how do we say one as a pronoun? Okay, so as we're going through this table, and there's 3 pages worth of this, just basically the main thing is pay attention to the first column, which is the number. So in this case, wahid is number 1, right? Wahid, right? But then if you want to say one of the female students, you have to use a pronoun. Who wants to read the pronoun right next to wahid in the table?
Would it be ikhti?
Very close, very good. Except that that's not a ya at the end, it's an alif maksura. Very close. Try it again. It's actually an alif. It's an alif at the end. We've seen it.
Oh,
We've
so
seen it.
ihda?
Mumtaz. So if you want to say one of the female students, you can say ihda at-talibat, for instance, right? Ihda at-talibat. If it was a ya, incidentally, how would I mark the ya in Arabic? If this is an alif at the end, it's an alif maksura. For it to be a ya, what do you need? You need
A line under it.
not a line, but
Two dots, I guess.
yeah, that would be a ya, right? In this case, we have an alif. Ihda, so one as a pronoun. And then if you want to say one of the masculine students, what do you say? That's the one right next to it.
Ahad.
Jamil jiddan, you say ahad, right? And notice what's happened here. The root letters for wahid are what? What do you think the root letters are?
Wow, ha, and da.
Jamil jiddan. Yes, those are the root letters, the waw, the ha, and the dal. But notice that the waw has fallen by the wayside in these pronoun forms. And that's often the case. When you have a vowel as a root letter, weird things happen to it. For instance, we have the word for united, as in United Nations, right? What is the word for United Nations in Arabic?
Al-Ummam al-Mutahida.
Jamil jiddan. Al-Muttahida is the word for united. And notice that you see the ha, which is the second root letter. You see the dal, which is the third root letter. But again, the waw has fallen by the wayside. All right, so now we're going to go to saying one student. So again, wahid is number 1. And who wants to read the expression for one female student?
Taliba wahida.
Jamil jiddan, taliba wahida. How about one masculine student?
Talib Wahid.
Jamil jiddan. All right, so that's the number 1. For number 2, it's ithnan. Everyone say ithnan.
Ithnan.
Jamil jiddan. Now the thing is, very rarely in Arabic do you have to spell out 2 students, as in talibatan ithnatan or taliban ithnan. Sorry, it's talibatan ithnatan, taliban ithnan, because Arabic already has a dual. So generally you say talibatan, talibatan. Sorry, so that's 2 female students, or taliban. Now the thing is this, Taliban is what? In Arabic, it's 2 students. When we look at the news articles and they talk about the Taliban, what are we looking at? It's not important for this class. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Niasi. This is Oliver. Quickly.
Yeah, hi, Oliver. Can you join us?
Hi, Mr. Niazi. I've been really struggling with my system. All my computers seem to be shut down. I'm trying to fix everything, but it's not working. I don't know what's happening. But I'm here. I'm just in my phone, but I'm listening to everything.
Okay, would you like me to email you the presentation? Would that make a difference to you? Or
that would be amazing.
All right. Well, why don't I email it to you? So we'll just take a brief breather here. All right, and then we go here. Okay, I'm gonna put the next screen on, guys, just so you can read it, and then I will be right back. Okay?
Thank you so much, Mr. Niazi.
Of course. Okay. All right. So again, Arabic has its complicated things on how it does numbers, but we're interested in just how to say these cardinal numbers. So how do I say 3 in Arabic?
ثلاثة.
جميل جدا. ثلاثة. ثلاثة. And then notice that when you want to say 3 students now, the rules are kind of very perverse, right? 3 female students becomes what? ثلاث طالبات, right? So notice there's the gender flips on the number. We don't care in this class. All we need to do is to be able to recognize ثلاثة, right? And how do I say 3 masculine students in Arabic? ثلاثة طلاب, right? 3 masculine students. Oh, sorry. In return, if we just say, I just wanted to make a note about Taliban. The Taliban does not mean 2 students, does not mean 2 masculine students. The Taliban, in fact, is a plural form, but not from Arabic, but from Persian. The alif nun in Arabic denotes a dual. So Taliban, 2 students. However, in Persian, Taliban is the plural form. So it means the seekers of knowledge, i.e. the people who have done terrible things as part of their political program. All right. All right, so let's go to number 4. How do I say number 4 in Arabic?
أربعة.
أربعة. جميل جدا. And then أربعة طالبات, أربعة طلاب. How about number 5?
خمسة.
خمسة. جميل. 5 طالبات, 5 طلاب. How about number 6?
ستة.
ستة. جميل جدا. 6 طالبات, 6 طلاب. How about number 7?
Sabah.
7. جميل. 7 طالبات, 7 طلاب. How about number 8?
ثمانية.
8. جميل. 8 طالبات, 8 طلاب is how 8 works. How about number 9?
تسعة.
9. جميل. جميل. 9 طالبات, 9 طلاب. Number 10?
عشرة.
10. جميل جدا. 10 طالبات, 10 طلاب. Very good. So these are your numbers. All right, now this is what the quiz on Tuesday is going to look like. So for instance, I'm going to read to you. Do you guys all have a pen and pencil? This is just a practice, right? It's a mock. So if I say ثلاثة, then you write down the number, right? So could you all write down ثلاثة as, right? And then the answer, of course, is 3. All right? And then since I asked you to look at that, the column in the book, in Al-Kitab, what if I said ثلاثة عشر? ثلاثة عشر. What would you write down? Oops, sorry. I guess I clobbered Thalathat Ashar. Thalathat Ashar.
Would that be 30?
Thalathat Ashar is
Yeah,
actually
30.
it's actually what? It's not 30. It's the other choice.
13.
It's 13. Thalathat Ashar would be 13. And then if I do Thalathat wa Ishrun being 20, it's going to be Thalathat Ishrun will be 23.
23.
All right. Okay. So just note that the units come before the tens in Arabic. Okay. So this will be. I'll have 5 of these numbers for you again, based on your Al-Kitab book. On that page that I sent you in the homework, it's chapter 5, right? It's chapter 5, page. Well, I can't find it, but it's in chapter 5, and so is it clear what the quiz is going to be look like? It's just going to be me reading in Arabic and then you writing down the numbers, and it's going to be 5 of these. It shouldn't be a terrible challenge. The table that I'm talking about is on page 102. All right. So this is our quiz for next Tuesday, and I'll have 5 of these for you from that thing. All right. Now here's a political cartoon. Oh well, you tell me what it is. Could someone read the Arabic?
Is it La Rabia Arbi Hana?
Jamil jiddan. Was this Elizabeth?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. La Rabi Arabi Huna. Right. And Huna is the only word we don't know in this sentence. Huna means here. What is La?
No.
Sort of negates it.
Yes, it means no, and in this case, it's negating it. What's Rabi?
Spring.
Spring. And Arabi, of course, is an adjective meaning Arabic, right? So what is the whole sentence? What is this cartoon denoting?
No Arab Spring here.
That's exactly right. That's a caption. No Arab Spring here. And what does the picture show? What does the illustration show?
Oh, well, doesn't it show a Saudi Arabian individual pouring water on Yemen, I guess?
Good. Very good. Good. I would modify it. It's not water. Why? Because the
Oil.
Oh, no, it's
got a...
Well, I mean, that's actually pretty recent that the Saudi Arabian government authorized strikes against the Shiite rebels in Yemen. I think today, actually. So I think that's what it's referring to.
Yes. So this is 2012. This is an earlier cartoon. And in fact, it's really hard to tell, but the country that's denoted in the background, it's actually Saudi Arabia. And it's hard to tell because, of course, it's not showing the entire Arabian Peninsula, but it's just showing the country of Saudi Arabia. So it's not showing Oman, for instance. It's not showing Yemen, and it's not showing Qatar. And the Arab Emirates, which we're going to learn about. Taklib is going to tell us. But basically, you see, it's not water. It's actually probably herbicide, right? It's some sort of plant killer, some poison. And as Oliver told us, this is some Saudi Arabia, some Saudi official that's pouring a poison on these newly growing plants. And everyone knows about the Arab Spring, right? People had high hopes for democracy sweeping the Islamic world, and at any rate, the regime in Saudi Arabia, which is a close ally, is it's a really extreme regime, one of the more extreme regimes in the Middle East, as are Iran and a bunch of other places. But it's a pretty extremist and fundamentalist regime. We haven't talked about, for instance, Salafism or the Wahhabi form of Islam in this class, but I just want to plant this idea in your head. I didn't know this until I did a little bit of research last year, but when the Wahhabis first went to Mecca in the 1850s, they were dismissed as lunatics. And now, 250 years later, they claim to speak for a majority of the Islamic world. Okay, so that was my little bit of editorializing, and this is, I leave you with this image of, now we have to move away from this image of the Arabian official pouring poison on presumably the democratic aspirations of these flowers. All right.
Mr.
Now,
Yaffe,
yes.
quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're trying to depict in the cartoon King Abdullah, or do you think it's just some general, like, Saudi Arabian
That's
official?
a really good question. I believe it is King Abdullah. I believe it is King Abdullah, who just passed away this year, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'll bring I'll have we'll do a comparison next time. How's that? Very good. Very good. Yeah. All right. So now we go to our next topic, which is, could someone read the topic?
الجملة الفعلية.
Al-Jumla al-Fi'liya. Right. And what is a Fi'liya sentence? It means it is a...
To the verb, right?
Right, a verbal sentence. So what is a verbal sentence in Arabic?
A sentence that starts with
A
a
sentence
verb.
that starts with a verb.
That's exactly right. And then if the verb is transitive, which means if it takes a direct object, the sentence has three main parts. What are the three main parts of a jumla fa'liya if the verb is transitive? And we'll look at this a little bit later. But what are the three main parts? It's going to have a verb.
Is it the subject, the predicate, and the direct object?
Yeah. There won't be a predicate. For this fa'liya, we're not going to have a predicate. We're going to have the verb. We're going to have the doer of the verb. So the action, the doer of the action, and then the receiver of the action, right? So these sentences are slightly different, right? So you're going to have the verb, the subject, or the doer, and then the direct object. This is in case the verb is transitive. Now, what does a transitive verb mean in English, for instance, if you do English grammar?
Requires a direct object because it's like
Right.
It's a thing you do to a thing. Like I threw the ball.
That's right. That's right. So a transitive verb is a verb that takes a direct object. I threw the ball. In the sentence, I threw the ball, what is the verb? Threw. And then what is the subject?
I.
And then what's the direct object? The receiver of the action in this case is the ball, right? So for verbs like, so the analog of the Arabic would be if you have a verb that's analogous to, So no, I don't want to. So let's keep going then. This is that pretty reasonable? Everyone's seen the definition of a transitive verb. It's not gonna be too scary, right? All right, so we're gonna go now to the next slide. Okay, if the verb is intransitive, if it doesn't take a direct object, then the verbal sentence has two main parts, the verb and the doer of the verb, okay? All right. Now, the general order is going to be al-fa'il, the verb, followed by al-fa'il, the subject, the doer, and then it's followed by al-maf'ul bihi, the direct object, which I've abbreviated by DO. That's the general order of a verbal sentence, okay? So you have the verb, the doer, and then the receiver, okay? So who wants to read for us the sentence at the bottom of the page?
يدرس الطالب الدراسة.
Ad-darsa. Very good.
الدراسة.
Yeah, so the R doesn't get a vowel. Very nice. What does that mean? يدرس الطالب الدرس or الدرسة.
The student learns the lesson.
That's right. The student is studying the lesson, or the student studies the lesson. So everyone sees the verb. What's the verb?
أدرس.
Yes, yadrus. And then what is the subject, the doer of the verb?
طالب.
الطالب. جميل جدا جدا. And what is the direct object?
أبعث.
الدرس, right? So يدرس الطالب
Yeah,
الدرس. Very nice. And why have I put the last vowel on the lesson in blue? Just to mark it. We don't care in this class about the ending vowels, but that's one way Arabic keeps track of who's doing what to whom. And these vowel endings actually make a difference. So for your direct object, you flip into the accusative, which some of you have other languages. You have German and Russian. And so that's how Arabic keeps track of it. We don't really care too much about these in our present communicative approach of Arabic, which is fine. The idea is that when you need to pay attention to these, you will learn to do these later. Very good. So that's your sentence. You have your verb, your subject, and then your direct object. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Now the subject may not be expressed, and instead may be indicated by the verb itself, right? Because remember that yaktubu already is a full sentence. What is yaktubu? Oh, sorry, yadrusu, I beg your pardon. What does yadrusu mean in Arabic? Just on its own, yadrusu.
He studies.
Yes, he studies, he is studying, right? So the subject may not be expressed. So in that case, you have yadrus ad-dars. Now, what is the translation for yadrus ad-dars?
He is studying the lesson.
That's exactly right. Right. So before we had the student is studying the lesson. Here we have he is studying the lesson. I have to say, when you first encounter these, both the asmiya and the fe'liya, the sentences are not the most transparent, but they really give the language a lot of richness. In this case, exactly as Adam said, yadrus ad-dars or yadrusu ad-dars, he is studying the lesson. So you have to supply the pronoun he in this case, all right? And in this case, so we have the verb, and then we have the direct object. Where is the subject in this sentence? The subject is folded into that verb. We don't see it, right? Yadrus ad-dars, he is studying the lesson. All right. Who wants to read the bullet for us? The bullet in English, the subject.
The subject and object may be modified by the adjectives.
Yes, they may be modified by adjectives. So who wants to read? This is practically the same sentence, but it's a little bit longer. Could someone read it for us?
Pardon?
So it's يدرس الطالب الأمريكي. Sorry, that's my typo. درس اللغة العربية. Right. So far we've had the student is studying the lesson, and now we have a little bit more complicated sentence. So what does this sentence say? يدرس الطالب الأمريكي. Sorry, I want to do الأمريكي. I beg your pardon. درس اللغة العربية. It's practically the same sentence.
Would it be the American student is studying the Arabic language lesson?
Yes, very nice. That's exactly what it says, right? So that's what's my verb in this case?
The verb is yadrusu.
Yadrusu, and it's a verbal sentence. It begins a sentence. Yadrusu is my verb. What is my subject, the doer of the action? Who is studying?
The American student?
That's right, the American student. الطالب الأمريكي, right? So I'm going to double underline my subject. And then what is my direct object? Well, it's going to be the lesson of the Arabic language. That's the Lugha al-Arabiya. So notice your subject is modified by an adjective, and your direct object in this case is actually an idafa construction. The lesson of the Arabic language, meaning the Arabic language. Arabic language lesson. That's Lugha al-Arabiya. All right. Oh, and then the verbal sentence may have one or more adverbial or prepositional phrases, but these should not throw you because basically these are their own little units, right? So I can do at the very end of the sentence, fil masa da'iman. What is da'iman as an adverb?
Always.
Always or constantly. Very good. What is fil masa?
In the library?
Fil maktab would be in the library. What's masa though? Masa is, we could do fil maktab if you want. Fil masa is in the evening, right? This easily could have been fil maktab, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So the prepositional phrase, so that's not in the subject or the verb or the direct object. That's just its own thing, right?
Yeah, in this sentence, right? But I can envision a case where.
Also, like if you said like, I'm studying in the library. Oh no, that would be different. But like I know what you mean. But in this case, it wouldn't.
Yeah, in this case, but I think you need to keep an open mind, and I know where you're going with this. For instance, the student in the library studies the Arabic lesson would be yadrusu at-talib fil maktaba dars al-lughat. So keep an open mind. Keep an open mind with these prepositionals, right? But just the point is, once you identify your verbal sentence, you need to look for your verb, your subject, and your direct object, if it's a transitive verb, okay? All right. All right, and in fact, in its simplest form, a verbal sentence consists of only one word, right? It's one of the beauties of Arabic. So, for instance, yahfaduhu, what is this verb? What does this mean? Sorry. Yahfad. What am I doing? Okay, I'm going to try this again. Yahfaduhu, it should be. Yahfaduhu. Remember the verb ahfad? Ahfad? Ana ahfad? Is I memorize, right? What is yahfaduhu?
He memorized.
No, it's still present tense. The tense is good. It's present, but notice that in this case, your direct object is indicated by that H at the end.
Oh, he memorized it.
Yes, he is memorizing it, right? That's your full sentence. He is memorizing it. Yahfaduhu. He is memorizing it. Very good. Very good. All right. And then the final with these jumla fi'liyas is if your verb relies on a preposition, like we had one this week, yash'uru bi, to feel something, it's relying on a preposition. Do not look for a direct object, right? The direct objects happen without any mediation. They happen without any mediation of the prepositions, right? He is memorizing the book. He is studying the lesson. But a lot of verbs in Arabic, and these are always marked in your vocab. Once they give you the verb, they have the preposition. So yash'uru bil wahda, for instance. Do not bother to look for a direct object. This verb is not a transitive verb. It's an intransitive verb. Your preposition is kind of doing the heavy lifting, and it's all right. So let's just you know what? We're going to now have, I think, Taqlib, if you like. I think this is, why don't we have Taqlib's presentation, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more with these Jumla Fi'liyas, okay? So Taqlib, are you ready?
Sounds good.
All right. Can everyone hear Taqlib?
Yep.
Can everyone see? Oliver may not be able to see your presentation.
Don't worry about it. I like listening to presentations.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right. Well, Teklib, I give you the floor.
By I'm doing the United Arab Emirates by me, of course. And the next slide, please.
Mm-hmm. It's very hard to read, but what do you have here? You can describe it.
Here's like a small timeline of the small history of the UAE. I don't have it on the timeline, but as of third millennium BCE, the United Arab Emirates and much of the Middle East was inhabited by the Bedouin tribe, if I'm saying that correctly, as in Bedouin meaning desert dweller in Arabic. However, successful people in that they lived off the desert by the name, and their main economic goals or ways that they survived was fishing and trading through Dubai or current day Dubai until they were met by, as you can see on the timeline, which I'm having we're reading, but they were conquered by the English and called the Truce Parties, and then later on the major ports. You can see that in 1971, the first that the UAE was formed into its independent nation. And,
right. Who was there before? Sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned it. Just could you emphasize who was there before they became independent? Who was ruling them before they became independent?
The English were ruling them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And they took their trading routes, and before the English, the Portuguese came in, and there were some small conflicts, but the major ruling, the English were the best control over that region. And the current day Bedouin tribe is spread across much of the Middle East, with the largest population living in Saudi Arabia as in their ancestors. But this is just a small timeline of the history of the UAE. And next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
If maybe if Mr. Niazi clicks present in the corner, we might be able to see everything a little bit better.
Okay. Where
in the
where
top
is it?
right hand.
Present next to share.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
Can everyone hear me still, or can everyone hear Teklib? Is this better?
Yes.
Thank you.
And now the identification of the UAE. These are just the seven, as you can see, the seven major cities of the United Arab Emirates. Abu Dhabi being the capital, and Dubai being the largest and most wealthiest city, I can say. And the flag you can see on the right, the emblem in the middle is not always there on every flag, but it's just the emblem of the UAE. And each color represents something. And as you can see, the flag is shaped as in the letter E, and each color meaning a different thing. Red symbolizes sacrifice, energy, and power. Green represents prosperity, growth, and success of the nation. Black stands for dignity, authority, and elegance. And white represents purity, openness, transparency, and peace of the nation, which we can see the openness later on. However, I have a random oasis farming picture just to talk about the Boudin tribe, and how the culture from back then transferred to the current UAE status, as how it is a large desert. It's the whole Middle Eastern, but there is small parts in which oasis farming is prevalent. And there's the current population of the UAE, roughly around 9.5 million. And GDP, after the big oil boom in the Middle East, the UAE has grown to 7th in the world as in income. Mind you, the United States is 10th. And next slide, please. And socially, social categories, as in there's the nationals and immigrants or non-nationals, and the dress of the nationals. Non-nationals can choose to wear, but nationals are encouraged to wear these dress, as there's the hijab and the abaya for the women. And considering that this is not only present in Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, but it is implored. And for males, there's the kandura, the long white and the kafef. As in Saudi Arabia, along with the UAE, short beards are enjoyed, I guess, rather than some other Middle Easterns where long beards are not encouraged or stylish to say. And there's the social classes. There's the ruling families, the merchant class, the new middle class, and the low income groups. And with these social ruling families, most of their servants majority are not of UAE inhabitants, are actually from Asia and some from Africa. So their servants tend not to be from the country. Next slide. Gender roles. After the big oil boom, gender roles tended to shift, as in more money was given and there's more opportunities for women and men. Speaking of the division of labor, schools and universities are segregated, meaning that in sex ratio, there are women in male universities. Females outnumber men 2-to-1 in universities, even though that as you can see on the bottom, that the sex ratio is around 70% male and 30% female. Status, business, officially men and women have equal rights, and underline equal meaning as they have equal opportunity. However, women tend not to be involved in business as much as men do. And socially, it's a patriarchal society. Next slide. Marriages, family, and kinship. Marriages, nationals prefer arranged marriages, and children are given incentives, small incentives to staying within the nationals. Emiratis are discouraged from marrying non-nationals. However, there's not like a law against it, but they're discouraged by the family. Family, 80% nationals are nuclear families, meaning that 2 parents and their dependents. Large families are encouraged, and 6 to 8 children is the average I've seen, which seems a lot, but that's the average. To have 6 to 8 children is normal. And kinship, UAE is kin-oriented, meaning that most families tend to live around their other family members. And the small chart on the right shows how after 2000, the decrease or not after 2000, but after the big oil boom, how the decrease in the percentage of women 15 and 19 from being married at that age, it went from the overall 57% to 8%, which still is the second highest or third highest in the Middle East, but has decreased gradually.
Sorry, could you repeat that statistic? It's the third highest. What statistic is the third highest? I didn't quite get it technically.
Women between 15 to 19 years of age being married, instead of now they're going to universities and pursuing other interests before the marriages. Next slide. Religion. Along with religion, the official language of the UAE is Arabic. However, English, Urdu, and other languages are spoken. However, Arabic is the national languages. But English is widely used as predominantly in Abu Dhabi and Dubai because they're major business cities within UAE. And most Emiratis are Sunni. They're Sunni. Matters of religion follow the Sharia Islamic law. And however, unlike what we talked about earlier, how Saudi Arabia and other Middle Easterns may not be as to other religions, the UAE is, considering how one of their flags white is openness. That's how they talked about it. And these just talk about the crest and the Sunni flag and other things like that. And if anyone has questions, I didn't put everything, but I can answer some questions.
Okay, questions for Tekli. Well, let's have applause first. Okay, thank you. Let's have questions.
I have a question.
Oliver, could you formulate it?
Wait, you can go first if you want.
I would like that.
All right.
Sorry.
Sounds good.
I just was really curious about this. It's a few slides later. There's this bar with the sex ratio or something, and I just want to know, is that like yeah, we just passed it. Is that like the number of women versus the number of men that live in the Emirates, or is that like the number in the workforce?
It's based on population. It's the population, and that was solely for women.
So it's kind of lopsided, yeah.
Yeah.
70% versus
And
30%.
also since usually there's like more women in the world, so like I don't know, it's interesting.
Well, that's a good question. I'm wondering if this includes the migrant workers. You know, there are a whole bunch of foreign workers in the Emirates, and they're principally male. So I'm wondering if that's perhaps skewing that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As
So
of the nationals that rule in the population, I think they make up only 2/3 of the population. So that might come into effect.
Okay. So that might be part of what we're seeing in Maya, is that a lot of them are foreign workers, and the foreign workers are generally all male. Oliver.
All right, Taqweem, my question is, seeing that last fall global oil prices dropped significantly, hurting major players such as Russia, how did this affect the UAE's predominantly dependent on oil production economy? Like, has it had a significant effect, or has it not really affected the economy of this country?
Well, the UAE claims that because you know how the majority of their economy has stemmed from oil production, how they claim that the oil production is only 30% of their economy. They're saying, and major other routes are trading and values. However, I don't know if that's true or not, but they're saying that it only affects 30% of their economy, and they hope their oil reserves they do have in their country will last them 100 years, 100 years in the future. And they're saying there's plentiful, being Abu Dhabi containing 90% of that oil production, in Dubai containing 10%. So they're saying it only affects 30% of their economy. So it might not come to that effect as much as the outside world might think.
Thanks.
Thanks. So I have a quick question. Just you said that according to the laws, the women and men are equal. In Saudi Arabia, women can drive, but they can't get licenses, so they de facto can't. Are laws similar in the UAE, or is it really equal and they can get licenses and do all the same thing as men?
I believe that they can. Like I was saying, they have equal opportunity. But however, since it's a patriarchal society, they tend to not to pursue those fields. They tend to just follow the basic domestic sphere that they've had since for longer.
Can I add something to that real quick? Is that?
Yeah, go ahead, Maya.
All right, because I've been researching this a little bit for my presentation, which will come later. Is that there are some women, like religious Muslim women, who so the thing is that I think the belief is that you're judged first on how well you take care of your family and how welcoming your home is, like by God. You're judged like by God first on that, and then on everything else. So that is one of the sort of things that might, I guess, discourage a lot of women from pursuing professional careers or sort of things that men might do. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, as always, as with many places, you have this tension between tradition and human society. Human culture has traditionally been patriarchal. It's been male-dominated for thousands of years at least, right? So there's always this tension between the laws on the books and what society traditionally expects of women, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I had a question about your presentation. Why is it called the United Arab Emirates? What does this mean, the United Arab Emirates?
well, before the 1971, when it was the United Arab Emirates, there were different factions because of different tribes. Not all of it was the Bedouin tribe. There's different tribes that some of them can be located in Yemen, some of them can be in Oman, the descendants. So not all had the same economic pursuits. As let's say Dubai was more of a trading route, and Abu Dhabi was like the largest center. And so there's
Okay.
different ruling families. And since after the English rule, like all of them just joined in and were like, okay.
Excellent. So that was the answer. I guess the question is, what is an emirate? And you gave us the answer, right? What is it? What is an emirate? Did anyone hear it in Techleaf's answer? An emirate is a political entity let's say, as a sultanate is a political entity ruled by a sultan. A kingdom or a mamlaka, like in Saudi Arabia, is a political entity ruled by a king. What is an emirate ruled by?
Caliph?
Like an Islamic monarch.
It's actually in the name emirate. It is marked. It is.
Emir.
It is. It's
An
ruled by
emir.
an emir. That's right. It's ruled by an emir. So basically, we have 7 emirates. These are 7 ruling clans, if you want, each headed by this emir person, which is kind of like a minor king, and they've all banded together, as Techleaf told us, after the British left. And we should read the names because, this is such a common trivia question. What are the 7 emirates of the United Arab Emirates? Who wants to read the names on the screen? If you can, Techleaf, you may be the only one who can see them. Could you read it for us, please?
Abu Dhabi, capital, Dubai, Sharjah, Ras Al, I'm having trouble seeing it, sorry.
Okay.
Ral Al Kuma and Juman, Al Kawani and Fujara.
Yeah. I don't recognize all of them. Abu Dhabi, as Techleaf told us, is a capital city, but it's not the biggest. They give the names to their central city as well, right? So what's the biggest city in UAE? It's the one that's number 2 on the list, like Dubai, right? And Sharjah is another one. Ras Al Khaimah, Ajman, which I don't remember, Al Qaywan, and Fujairah. Certainly, that's a very common. Good. Now the question is, 2 of these names are idafas. Which one are the idafas? Can you tell from the English transcription?
Is it 4 and 6?
Yes, 4 and 6. Very good. You can see that they have the noun and then they have the al before the second. Ras Al Khaimah and Al Qaywan or Qaywain. Very good. Okay, we have very little.
Can I have
go
one
ahead.
more question?
Sure.
What is oasis farming? I just saw that on the bottom of the PowerPoint.
Good question.
Well, back to the Bedouin tribe, since the 08 farming, they majorly farmed dates, as in the region, and so there's just multiple oases where only water was plentiful in those places. As let's say you weren't in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, where it's close to the ocean where you could fish. So they would just farm small aquaculture in order to trade with or to survive, and that's what I think where they got the name, but where the desert dweller was like signified because they lived off the harsh land at which they lived on. So that's just oasis farming to emphasize that the small oases there are in
Right. Right. If I could jump in, you know that the Arabian Peninsula is arid, right? But there are regions where the groundwater comes to the surface, and you can do sort of limited farming, and this must be taking advantage of that. I have to assign you guys your homework, but since Techleaf mentioned the Bedouin, the tribe people, and that's such a huge part of the culture. I don't know how many of you got to see. Oh, this is flipped. I don't know. Yeah, how many of you got to see the Roads of Arabia exhibit? It went to several cities. It came to San Francisco. It was also at the Metropolitan Museum. But really, even the area that's now the United Arab Emirates has been settled not necessarily by the Bedouin, but by really developed cultures for thousands of years, right? So it would be unfair to think that the Arabian culture is only Bedouin culture. There were settlements, settled cities, and these had ties with, say, Mesopotamia and the Harappan culture out in the Indus Valley for thousands of years. So it's really a fascinating topic, the geography of the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, now we're going to Let's have another round of applause for Taqlid. Thank you. And now we're going to go to, let's do the homework. And then we'll have to call it quits, I think, because we just ran out. But really, yeah, I mean, there's a whole world of fascinating facts about this part of the world. All right, so this is your Sunday homework, right? Basically, okay, 3 parts. So write 10 sentences describing the weather and the seasons in your hometown. All right, and if there are challenges, just email me with questions about vocab but I don't think it'll be too challenging. And then I'm going to have to send you a fill-in-the-blank exercise based on the one you just did to activate your vocab learning and also to sort of activate some of these sentence structures. And then I'll also send you a couple of verbal sentences for you guys to parse, you know, where's the doer, where's the verb, where's the receiver of the action, okay? So that's your homework. Yeah, and since we only have less than a minute, yeah, let's see, are there any questions out there? If not, then please stay tuned. I will send you these homework, the 2 items that I have marked via email. Okay, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Niazi.
Bye, Mr. Niazi.
Thank you all. See you all later. Bye-bye.